Hey everybody, this is David Paull, and on this episode we are in New York City at the Hudson Yards offices of VaynerMedia with none other than GaryVee himself, Gary Vaynerchuk. Hey Gary.
I'm so happy to be on.
Thanks so much for having me in. For the small handful of people out there who don't know your background, can you give us just the quick overview of your business background?
Entrepreneur, lemonade, baseball card kid. Dad came to America with nothing, grew his way up to owning a small liquor store, a nice size liquor store in New Jersey. I kind of came in, innovated, became a wine connoisseur before I was drinking. 15, 16, 17-year-olds, super knowledgeable about wine. Led to one of the first e-commerce wine businesses in 1996, winelibrary.com. Built that from a $3 to a $60 million business. Went on to invest in Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. Made a name for myself as a Silicon Valley kind of angel investor. Started a company called VaynerMedia. Now a 900-person advertising agency, Mad Men 2019.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Became a personality because of my wine videos and business videos.
Yeah.
Have the ambition to be kind of one of the central entrepreneurs of this golden era of entrepreneurship. If you asked me how I think about stuff, why do I do content? Why do I have all this content? And that's who I am.
That's cool. That's cool. So our audience focuses really heavily on B2B.
Okay.
And when we first met in Vegas at IFA a couple weeks ago, we chatted a little bit about B2B. You talked a lot about LinkedIn and your push on LinkedIn this year, which I see 100%. It's amazing how you guys just
turned
that
it on.
Switch. And clearly, you've got the crew to do it, but it's been fascinating to watch.
I appreciate
the way
that.
you made that decision,
Yes.
and then you just went all in on it.
I appreciate that.
So-
By the way, for everybody who's listening in the B2B audience, no matter what business you're in, B2C, you got a side hustle selling t-shirts. Speed matters in sports and speed matters in business. To me, that was a real big compliment. I take a lot of pride in, and Dustin, Jason on my team, less than about a year each, you guys know, you see it. I'll send a text and it becomes our religion and we go. And speed is very underrated.
Yeah. Well, I've learned that from you from watching. I've been watching DailyVee forever.
Thank you.
And when I was actually telling these guys before we started, it's a real gift what you offer to entrepreneurs like me, because you put all this out for free.
There's no way for me to be the entrepreneur that I just said I want to be by making a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that make a lot of money. I want to be an all-time great entrepreneur because no entrepreneur before me or after me gave more to the entrepreneurs of the game.
Yeah.
That's why I do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's helped tremendously. I know I can't be the only one. So it's helped.
And has it helped because you've seen little subtleties and you're okay?
Well, it's helped me learn how to run a business by focusing on people. I've always been passionate about my people, but the way you do it and put it first, and the way you've talked about your chief heart officer being the second below you in the organization, but then also seeing speed. I tend to be pretty conservative, so I'll perseverate over decisions and I'll weigh all the pros and cons, and I'm afraid to make the wrong decision. And what's helped me through watching you is to learn that almost everything's fixable. So you can try it, taste it, as you like to say, right? If it works, you keep going, and if it doesn't, then you pivot. Am I learning? I'm doing all right?
Brother. The time you spend debating, you could have done and fixed. Yeah. That's what I keep trying. You don't know how happy listening to you right now is. In the time that you pontificate, debate, ideate in your own head, you can go do. 3 out of 10 times it's a slam dunk win. So great. Yeah. 3 out of 10 times it's just okay, you decide, and 4 of the times it doesn't work. But when you do that, and to your point, you clean it up, you're still tried and cleaned up by the time most people are thinking.
Right.
That's why I'm getting so much done.
Yeah. Well, and that's the change that I've made, and my team has seen it too, because what I'm doing more with my marketing team now is we're just throwing ideas out and we're just trying. And in a way, they're trying to keep up because I just want to try so many things.
Good.
But that's a shift for me. So, but I think it's been awesome. Awesome. My work and our audience focuses a lot on content, messaging, optimization of that, how to drive engagement through messaging and content. Yesterday, you guys re-promoted your content pyramid thesis on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Can you briefly take everybody through the notion of what the content
I believe that if you have
about?
a podcast like you do right now, or you do a DailyVee like I do, that if you create a macro piece of content, 12 hours of filming, a singular keynote, a 1-hour podcast, that if you start with that hero piece of content, you can then make 7, 23, 84, like in that example in the deck, pieces of content that then go live contextual. And let me say this very carefully. Right. The video that I play on Facebook versus the video I play on LinkedIn is going to maybe have different copy, may start at a different point. I've been screaming at my team, I don't scream as they'll tell you. I've been passionately communicating through text that thumbnails and titles matter way more than this fucking team realizes. So let's get our shit together. Let's win.
Because it's what stops the scroll.
Of course, context. Context.
Yeah.
You have to understand the psychology. You on LinkedIn is different than you on Instagram. When I just said that to everybody, you on LinkedIn is different than you on Instagram. Of course it is.
Yeah.
When you're on LinkedIn going through content, you're thinking about your career ambitions. When you're on LinkedIn, you might be looking for pretty girls. You might be looking for vacation pictures. You might be looking for cool photos of food. As a business, I want your business. When I want to sell empathy wines right now. Everybody knows, right?
Yeah.
I've started this brand.
Yeah.
When I'm doing content on LinkedIn, I'm saying, hey guys, do you need to buy gifts for clients? Because that's LinkedIn context.
Right.
When I'm on Instagram, I'm like, hey, do you go to the pool and a float of a swan in the pool and you need some rosé and like you're going to be in Ibiza or Coachella? So like it's different.
Yeah.
But Johnny and Susan both go to LinkedIn and to Instagram. Right. It's my job to make the creative. Yeah. So punchline being, if I film everything, if I have a podcast, if I film my keynote, if I film my meetings, do I then get 11 pieces of content? 4 for Instagram, 7 for Twitter, a LinkedIn post, a YouTube video? Do I script the audio and make it my daily podcast? I have a top 75 podcast in the world, and I don't sit down and do a podcast. Let me just say that one more time for the kids in the back. I have a top 75 podcast in the world on iTunes, which is the world, I guess, this way. I'm the only one in the top 100 that actually doesn't sit down and do a podcast. It is the script audio from my day-to-day.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And it's we're kind of now, I'm getting a little serious. I made it quiet. Like, I'm delivering that because that's what my content pyramid's about, which is I'm busy. I'm the CEO of a 900-person company, multiple companies under the VaynerX world. I'm busy every minute. You can see what's going on here. Yeah. Like, I've got 17 things on the back of this. It's already, 6:49 p.m. My day's just starting. Yeah. And yet I'm producing more content than almost any human on earth.
Yeah.
Like that's a commitment to realizing how important it is.
Right. So what I want to ask, because people's heads are probably spinning now, is for those like me who don't have a 30, 40 person team.
They do what I did from 2006 to 2015.
Give context to that.
That's it. Everybody who's listening, the excuse in the market now is, well, Gary has a huge team. But I didn't for the first 9 years of my career. Yeah. I did it.
So how do you create from the pillar piece of content to all of the contextual macro pieces where you need to create the right micro pieces for LinkedIn?
You allocate 4 hours.
Of your own. Just allocate hours of your own time. Learn the tools.
From 2007 to 2011, I got home at 8 o'clock at night, hung out with my wife for an hour, and from 9 p.m. to 2 in the morning, I replied to people on Twitter. Every night.
Yeah.
Because I was hungry and ambitious. And I wanted to be professionally successful, and it was fun. Yeah. And I know that nobody wins if you don't put in the work.
Yeah. So team or no team, no excuse.
Of course not. Not with a phone.
Right.
I wish I had this iPhone.
Yeah.
Are you nuts?
Right. You can sit on the
I started on Twitter on desktop.
Yeah.
Let me just say it one more time, because I guess that's why I'm doing in this interview. I did Twitter on desktop. Give me a phone?
Yeah. Right.
Are you nuts? Give me a phone that's this powerful? Filters? Get out of here.
All right, so let me ask you this then. Of all the types of content you create, I want to get to engagement because I want to have people focus on the types of content they can create where they're going to get the most traction. The kind of content that's
every person's going to be different. Let me jump right in real fast because I want to bring you value.
Yeah.
The place you're most comfortable. If you're uncomfortable in front of a video camera, you're not going to make good video content. If you're great at random ideas while you're driving and you can go to the Memos app on your phone and just spit it, pontificate, with an incredibly articulate lecture for 7.3 minutes, and it's profound and insightful in your craft as a SaaS salesman or a real estate networker, or whatever you may be, well then podcast is going to work for you. If you're a remarkable writer, where you get a nice glass of wine in your home office at 8:30 p.m. after a day of work, and you write 7 gorgeous paragraphs of IT consulting behaviors, you'll win on LinkedIn. Yeah. If you're a super creative videographer and you just see something that I can't see when you're walking down the street, you're going to win on Instagram.
Right.
Got it?
Yeah. So really much
reverse
more
engineering your talent.
To focus on what you're good at, not worrying about video does
there is
better
no
than
right way.
audio.
Of course it doesn't.
Yeah.
There's no right way.
Yeah.
There's only what you're best at. There's no best way to do content. There's the thing that you're best at to do content.
All right. That's super helpful.
Clip that,
That's
Jason.
super helpful. So talking about all the different platforms that you talked about before, it was just within the last couple of weeks you came up with your 79-21. Take people through that real quick.
I was in this really interesting meeting with Bobby Hundred's, a credible designer, streetwear, cultural dude, and he was asking me questions, and I was luckily sitting next to a whiteboard. I should do more whiteboard content after I saw that.
I didn't think I'd ever seen you pick up a marker.
People freaking out. I mean, but it was really good. It was obvious to me. I'm like, this is good because I was able to articulate my thoughts. And so the model's very simple. Are you willing to focus 79% of your energy on your core platform, whether it's LinkedIn, YouTube, podcast, and Instagram? And then can you then take your 21% of energy then tasting everything else? Because everybody's got their eggs in one basket.
Right. So in my case and others like me, when we talked in Vegas about B2B and you said LinkedIn, if all things being equal, go
That's
LinkedIn.
Your 79.
So that's the 79.
I think you should go 79 on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I believe that.
So then there are tons of other platforms out there.
Yes.
Do you feel like for pure B2B, there are ones that...
LinkedIn, Facebook, podcast, YouTube, Twitter. I think Instagram is really down the line. Even though it's the most popular one in culture, it's probably the one that is most unlikely to help you in a B2B environment.
To help convert on B2B.
If you're selling SaaS,
right.
You're not selling SaaS on Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean, you can if you're great at fishing and people follow you on fishing, and once every 15 posts, you're like, by the way, I know you're all here for how good I am at fishing, but I'm a salesman of this, Oracle product. So...
Right. But if we're going for scale, the list you gave is the place to put most energy. All right. I wanted to ask you about one other thing you said. I think it was in a 4Ds that you guys ran the other day. Tell everybody real quick what 4Ds is.
It's called Daily Digital Deep Dive. It's a one-day consulting product that used to be 10, now it's $12,500. You come to Vayner. I took it from Disney and Zappos. We have so much secret sauce here. Yeah. We realized that we could sell it if you came for the day, and that $12,000 investment would have remarkable ROI for your business, and it's been a remarkable business for us. Yeah. And there's stories of people coming here that are doing $800,000, then 9 months later doing $4 million. So it's been a great thing.
Day.
Yeah.
So you said in a recent one, this quote took me. You said I want to get it right. You said when building something in perpetuity, all you have to do is make payroll.
That's right.
All right. Now, you probably don't necessarily remember saying that exactly, but I'm sure
very well.
All right. I'm
glad you
really
picked it
interested in that. I'd love for you to expand on that.
When you're trying to build something forever and you want a business that lasts forever, the only requirement you actually have is for the business to stay alive. You don't need to pull out $1 million salary to buy a second home and take fancy ski trips, because what you love and what your ambitions are and what your legacy are is building a business forever. Now, it's fine to take money off the table, but it's bare minimum. You got to keep the business alive, and you have to live as humbly as possible if you want to build something meaningful.
Yeah. And what about...
Too many people think they build a business so that they can take the money out for themselves to live a better life. The business is the oxygen, not you.
Yeah. And then what about people who are worried about safety net? They're worried about... extra cash or, not
I think that's right.
borrowing,
I think that's right.
lines.
I think that's right. I like that. If you have $1 million business that's kicking $200,000 in profit, I love the idea that putting $50,000 in a bank and forgetting about it. Now you have 150 in your own home, and then I would say in that 150, instead of taking 150, if you're paying yourself 80,000 as a base salary, I would consider hiring more people and investing back in your business. Maybe take 10,000 because it was a good year to take a nice trip. It's not all or nothing, but the amount of people that take all the money out of the business.
Right.
Like I know people that have businesses that are doing 3 million and their salary's $1 million. They have the business to live a lifestyle.
Right.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can build something meaningful. Yeah. It's not putting, either you're putting it into your children or you're not. Like you want something meaningful, you got to put it into it.
Yeah. Cool. So on the B2B front, is there anything that you wish I would have asked or that you wish people asked you more often? What's not getting talked about with
people don't believe that social media marketing works for B2B. Let's make it very simple.
Okay.
I believe that the masses do not believe that social is for B2B. I talk to B2B marketers all the time. And I think that B2B marketers need to understand that the trade show is not giving the same dividends that it did 7 years ago, that the print advertising in the B2B magazine is not giving the dividends that it did 7 years ago, that Google AdWords continue to get more expensive and aren't giving the dividends that they did 7 years ago, and that B2B companies are in sales and not in branding and marketing. And there's amazing opportunity between podcast, YouTube, and LinkedIn right now to become a juggernaut B2B brand.
And so the foundational, in addition to being prepared to create this content and being prepared to distribute it across, as far as trying to figure out what's your voice, what's your thing, what's your hook, where do you encourage people to start looking for what that thing is that they're going to put out in the world?
I think they should just
if they don't give keynotes, right? And
I think. Oh, you mean the hero?
Well, I'm just even the content that's going to interest people when they don't have something.
Just start talking.
All right.
Tell stories. Let's start with stories. Write a post on LinkedIn tomorrow, everybody who's listening, about the first day of your career. Write it. Write a story tomorrow titled 365 days in a year, 3650. Write a story called 5,119 Days, which is the story of your 17-year career in hardware sales.
Yeah.
Tell stories. You're like me and you can't write? Well, then audio it.
Yeah.
On the way home on your 2-hour commute, instead of listening to my podcast or listening to music, put on the memo, put your headphones on, and talk. Put it out the next day. People don't understand. Just do.
Yeah, I think that's what spooks people the most is that they feel like, and I've heard you talk about this before, but I want to get it. I want to get it to this audience. I don't have anything to say. My work isn't cool. It's boring.
It's not.
That's what people are worried about.
Stories. Why I got a promotion. Hey, everybody, it's Sally. Let me tell you why I got a promotion when I was 24. I figured out then, remember, I'm 67 now. I figured out then that the boss ultimately was going to decide if you got a promotion. And I knew that he valued hard work. So I stayed after work for an hour every day for the first 2 years of my career. That's why I got a promotion. Now, let me tell you the weirdest part. Let me tell you why I got a promotion 4 years later. Because my new boss, she actually valued soft skills. Did I get along with everybody? So I shifted, and I didn't stay an hour late anymore. At that point, I fell in love. I met my husband, Rick. What I did, though, was when I was in the office, I was friendly with everybody. The moral story is, kids, know who the decision maker is. Who's the king and queen that's going to decide about your raise? And figure out what matters to them and do that. You know what matters to me? My team knows. Hard work. That's why we're always the latest in the office. You know what else matters? Being nice to each other. Anybody that is on my team that leaves early and is a dick is here for a week.
Right. Yep. I think it's great. I think it is that simple. And
it is that simple. Everybody makes it complicated. I have empathy for that complication.
Yeah.
That's why so few people are winning at big levels.
Yeah.
We're here today on this podcast to break through to one person who's listening who just starts yapping on their drive in between sales calls, and it changes the course of their career.
That's what I'm really hoping to do.
Me too.
So I know you're running late and you have to go. I have one. I want to digress.
Yes.
One last question.
Please.
I want to ask you about Hot Ones.
Yes.
All right. I see the bottles up here.
Yes.
My son Jared's behind me. We watch Hot Ones all the time. And
So did I show up on Hot Ones and you already knew who I was and you were stunned I was on?
No, I knew who you were. I thought it was cool as shit that you were on. I loved it. But you sat down and you said, I'm not going to flinch. I'm going to eat every one of these things. I'm not going to flinch. Shaq was on a week ago. He fell into a pile of mush at the table and he could eat you for lunch, right?
He could.
So I'm just fascinated by how did you sit down at that table
And
how
my
did you
mind?
power through those wings that we know are deadly, carry on a coherent conversation and not let it show? And how much pain were you actually
Very little.
behind the scenes?
Very little pain. You saw that number 8 caught my attention.
Yeah.
You know, if you're really nerdy about the episode.
Yeah.
There was 10 hot wings. Number 8 caught my attention. I was concerned because it was real hot. And I'm like, damn it, if 9 and 10 go up from here, because the delta from 7 to 8 was real, I might be in trouble. Luckily, 9 and 10 were not as spicy as 8 for my palate.
Yeah.
I was focused.
And you just put it out of your mind.
There's people that get shot in wars and then walk 9 miles to make sure they don't die. The brain is underrated.
Yeah.
Let that be my legacy. If I can convince people how underrated the brain is, my friends, if you're listening right now and you think you can't, let me promise you can.
Yeah. And if you need convincing, go to Hot Ones on YouTube, find Gary's episode, and watch that steel face through some of the face-melting wings that I think would make most of us.
I got to run to the kids.
All right, man.
Thank you,
Hey,
brother.
thank you so much.
Really
I appreciate it. It was
Yeah,
really fun.
real fun.
Thanks.